journey to the cross continues. We've had Palm Sunday, where Jesus makes the entry into Jerusalem, where he's cheered, where he's hailed as king. And then yesterday, on the Monday, he went to the temple courts, starts driving people out who are buying and selling in the temple courts. He asked, "What are you doing this for in my Father's house?" We can see how people are getting more worried by him, the religious leaders becoming more concerned. And now they're worried about his popularity. How are things changing and developing over the next few days? Well, at this point here, they begin to question the authority of Jesus. And as we listen on, we hear about what sort of questions they ask and how they're likely to get even more annoyed, even more concerned by Jesus. As we hear that read to us now from Mark chapter 11, verses 27 to 33.
Jerusalem, while Jesus was walking into the temple courts, the chief presents, the teachers of the law and the elders came to him. "By what authority are you doing these things?" they asked, "and who gave you authority to do this?" Jesus replied, "I will ask you one question. Answer me, and I will tell you by authority I am doing these things. John baptized. Was it from heaven or human organs? Tell me." They discussed it among themselves and said, "If we say of human organs," they featured the people, for every held that John really was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, "We don't know." Jesus said, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things."
Jesus refuses to tell them by what authority he does these things. And so, as they begin to ask more questions, today we think about the questions that they ask him, but also the parable which Jesus told that would demonstrate what would happen to him, would demonstrate that Jesus knew what was going to happen, what people would do to him, and also his relationship with the Father. And so now we think about that parable that Jesus then tells the disciples, tells these people in Mark chapter 12. The illustration he makes. We're going to hear what that parable, what that story was about, the stories that Jesus would tell to try and make his point. He now tells one, and it's followed by them becoming more confused and looking to ask him more questions. So what do you think this story is about that he tells people?
This is a story about a man who owned some land. He planted some grapes on it and rented out the land to some other farmers who were to work in the vineyard and take care of it. Part of the agreement he had with the farmers was that he would have a share of the crops.
When it came time to harvest the grapes, the landowner sent his servants to collect his share of the harvest. The farmers who had leased the land beat the servants and even killed one of them. They refused to give the landowner what was owed to him.
A second time, the landowner sent servants, more than the first time, but again the farmers treated them in the same way.
He had one left to send, a son, whom he loved. He sent him last of all, saying, "They will respect my son."
But when they saw the son coming, they said, "This is the landowner's son. Let's kill him and take his inheritance."
So they grabbed him, murdered him and threw his body out of the vineyard.
Now the religious leaders know that he's talking about them. They are the wicked tenants. They are the ones who would throw him out. And Jesus himself talks about himself in relation to God the Father, how he was the Son. They knew what he was trying to say, and they disliked it even more. And now they really wanted a reason to arrest him, but they were scared because of the crowds. What should they do? what will their next tactic be to try and get rid of him?
They tried to trap Jesus by asking him questions.
Questions about taxes, questions about the resurrection, questions about the great commandment.
Jesus answered their questions and then asked them some questions.
And they were unable to answer his questions. And so, with a sense of confusion, anger, concern, they wondered what to do with Jesus. And during the rest of that day, he continues to teach on the Mount of Olives. He gives preparation to his disciples for what's to come, for their journey going on, about his return, how things will look in the future, and also warnings to the religious leaders about what they might face if their behaviour doesn't change. You know, for them, they're very concerned about Jesus now. Jesus' teaching is getting stronger and stronger. People are getting, some are following him, some are getting more worried. How are things going to unfold over the next few days? Well, the enemies of Jesus, they needed someone to betray him, someone to give something away about him, someone to give him away. And so, as we look on in Mark 14, we begin to read how the betrayal actually takes place, how it starts, and how in the mind of one person, the desire to betray Jesus emerges.
Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief presents to betray Jesus to them. They were delighted to hear this and promised to give him money, so he watched for an opportunity to hand him over.